All right, so we are here with another one of our sessions for International Women's Day. As I've said before, International Women's Day is March 8th, Friday, March 8th, I think. But instead of just celebrating for one day, I've decided I want to talk to 31 amazing women over the course of a month. So from March 8th until April 7th or 8th, depending on how time works out. I'm going to talk to amazing women that I know and admire, and I just want to hear their stories. So there is very little format here. We're just going to chat for 15 to 20 minutes and see where we go. So I would love for my friend Zuza to introduce herself.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here as well. My name is Zuza. People mainly know me as Zuz. I'm originally Polish. Born in the wild, wild east of Poland, studied in Warsaw for some time, and I spent a couple of last years in Berlin. And currently, I don't have a home. I'm nomadic, and I'm looking for a new place to find the new home for myself.
Amazing. That's so cool. And truly International Women's Day. You're from somewhere nomadic. I'm an American living in the UK. So we're you and I are representing international women for sure. I love it. So we know each other. We have an interesting story, but we know each other because I recruited Zuza as an engineering manager to one of my teams at a company I was at. I was super excited because I wanted I had a really strong opinion. I had 7 teams and I believed that there needed to be a female leader on every team, either a product manager or an engineering manager. And so I had at least one team that had 2, which was great. So when I met Zuza, I was like, I need this person. And so I hired her, and then I very quickly quit. And she was like, wait, what? You're quitting? so, so she didn't stay really long there either. But we stayed in touch because we had a really nice connection and have really enjoyed kind of following each other's changes over the last couple of years. So did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I just remember a moment when I was informed that you're leaving, and it was like they really didn't want to tell me because, like, when we had our 30-minute call, I was like, oh my God, yeah, I want to join because she's there and she's great.
Yeah.
And so then I stalked you and I messaged you on LinkedIn and I was like, do you want to have breakfast with
Oh,
me? I think we spent like 3 or 4 hours chatting on like in a Berlin's cafe somewhere in Neukölln or somewhere.
yeah, it
Um,
was great. It was great.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember they were like, we're gonna tell her, and I'm all okay. Well, let me know if I need to talk to her. And then you beat them to it. Like you asked for to talk to me before they ever told me that you did. So but it worked out. It worked out for both of us. We've lived many lives since then, both of us, and have been kind of around the world. And I think I just am really grateful that we kept the connection. That's really fun for me. I like to pick up people along the way because relationships really matter to me. So that was really fun. So I would love for you to just tell us your story, however you want. You tell the story in whatever depth and degree and wherever you want to take it. You tell us your story.
Okay. My story is quite complex, and I'm a person that kind of always goes against the current. Starting from like very young age, I would always just like make my own decisions and go against my parents to prove that it's gonna serve me well and I know better for myself. It worked, but like for most cases, sometimes it didn't, which was also a good learning. But basically, maybe if we focus on like the life career part of things, part of the story. I studied economics, management, and I started working very early when I was 21, 22, started with public relations, got into this world, decided very quickly it's not for me, although like writing skills and like peer being with people skills were definitely useful. I didn't like the kind of like approach of the PR towards the world in general as such. And I quickly switched to a marketing team in one of the sports brands, Reebok, where I was a marketing assistant, studying at the same time. And then after 6 months, basically I wasn't learning anything new. It was very, very repetitive. So I quit. I started my master's degree. And after 6 months, my manager at the time, another amazing, amazing woman, called me and she was like, are you looking for a job? It's like, yeah, I am. Okay, like, do you have a driving license? I do. Are you afraid of flying? no. Do you know what Piotr was doing? And I was like, yeah, there was this guy who was doing something. I have no idea, but yeah, I do, of course. Like, okay, do you want a job? So basically, I landed a merchandising manager job as a manager for Central East Europe, managing 7 countries when I was like 22. Very steep learning curve. The guy who was there before me is a very good friend, by the way. And he gave me a lot of really good tips on how to quickly and efficiently get into the role and actually how to really enjoy it. So I spent a couple of years in this world. Love sports. I love movement, like, exercise, moving, doing this with other people and being in nature as well is something I really love. However, it doesn't mean that all the brands that are related to it are also as great as the, idea behind them themselves.
Okay.
And after a couple of years, the company has changed in a way that I didn't really feel aligned with. And also I felt I wasn't growing anymore again. And basically I decided after 4 or 5 years in the corporate world to take a break when I was 25. I wanted to go to Australia and become a like a personal trainer or fitness trainer, do the college. So I quit my job. I left my flat. I was sleeping on my best friend's couch, and in the very last moment, I didn't get the visa. And then I was in a situation where I was planning this trip for like a year and a half or 2 years, and everything collapsed in 1 second. And instead of like being worried and, being depressed, which my mother believed I'm gonna be, I was like, that's great. Like, it means I can go anywhere but Australia. But like, fun, where do I want to go?
Where am I going now? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And my friends helped me a lot. We had one great day and a night where we were deciding my future path. And basically I had some savings. And I was like, I can either go for a backpacking tour around the world and spend all the money and come to the same place in a year and like be like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Or I can invest that into something. And at the time, my brother got into coding. And I was really curious about it. Talked to him. He said, like, try it out, maybe do a coding bootcamp. And I found a bootcamp called Le Wagon in Berlin, where I moved for a couple of months to do the bootcamp and try it out and see if it's for me. And actually, I loved it. It was great. The course itself was amazing. It was super intense. I think that was one of the most difficult things I've done in my life. And after those 2 months, I learned Ruby on Rails, tiny bit of product management. And after the course, I landed a job as a Python junior developer. Because they basically said, like, if you learned Ruby within 9 weeks, you're gonna learn Python just like that. And so I did. And I also learned
Right.
JavaScript. I became a mobile developer. It was just like everything new, but I loved it. And
Yeah.
I was learning, so I really enjoyed that. And I was working as the full stack developer and at the same time still coming back to that bootcamp to be a teaching assistant, so someone who like helps the students after lectures with their challenges and is empathetic and can support them in this emotional journey. And after a year, actually, I joined the bootcamp full time as a lecturer, so proper teacher, as a developer, and also as a kind of like a manager, teacher's manager, batch manager. And then after 2 months, due to my economic background and the fact that I know Python, I was assigned to launch a data science bootcamp and teach lectures on the data science bootcamp without having any idea what data science is or machine learning is. But so I learned and I became a data science teacher, implemented a lot of processes, recruited a lot of teachers, wonderful, really wonderful people, and trained them in how to teach, how to be with students, how to kind of be a good pedagogical companion throughout the entire bootcamp and also afterwards. And yeah, that's I spent I think like 3-4 years with the company doing a lot of different things, doing data science, doing full stack engineering, training teachers, being an engineering manager, like all the different things. As you probably noticed right now, like I can't sit
I
still.
remember.
But then again, I wasn't aligned anymore really with where the company was going, which is a very natural process. And it's great to kind of stop for a second and think like, do I still belong here? Like, do we really belong together? Or is it time to move on? It was time to move on for me. And I took a break for 3 months, which was amazing because I had the time to really reconnect with myself, to rest, to recover, to rediscover my intuition and know what I love doing just for myself apart from work. And also, I was able to adopt a dog in the meantime, which is a great time to adopt a dog if you don't work at the same time. And yeah, and then I was recruiting for the company where you were working at the time. It was like really full on, I think also dev job. And I think I realized very quickly that I don't want to just be fully coding oriented only. So I very quickly, within 10 days, realized this is not a place for me. So I wasn't yet that deep in the process, and I didn't have any specific tasks. So it was actually for me much easier to basically say, okay, this is not gonna work. I know it already now. If I know it at the very beginning, it's no point in trying to fix things, right? Because the company is functioning well. I am the one that doesn't fit in. And it was a great realization to really ask yourself, like, this is yeah, I should go.
Right, right.
And so I went, and then one of my old students from the data science reached out to me because I posted something on LinkedIn about crypto and Web3. I was exploring that a bit. And he basically like landed me a couple of jobs, connected me with people. I talked to them and they were like, come on, join. And at the same time, I also was working with a friend of mine on a course about blockchain, about Web3, because they were looking for someone who can create the course and teach it. It's an organization that's called Surge Women, Surge meaning upwards, to push more women, non-binary, actually older people, in the transition to crypto and Web3, and to enable that for them and to make the topic less scary for those who are not very much into blockchain, crypto, trading, and so on. And so by creating the course, I educated myself about crypto and I got into it this way. I was working at a company which was providing a tool for decentralized governance. Long story short, there are organizations in crypto which work as companies, but there's no one single decision maker, no one point of failure. The organization is taking decisions collectively, and they vote on the decisions. And this is what the company was doing. And I was working there as DevRel, which is developer relations. So a person who is skilled technically, but also likes people and likes helping people and likes education, which was a great fit for me. But then after a year, I started talking also to another company. Again, I felt like I'm not really growing anymore in the previous project, even though I love the people, I love the team. It was again time to move on. And now I'm working at Safe, which is another crypto company, where I am an ecosystem manager, which is a role that combines everything I've done in my
Like,
life.
let's put it all together.
Exactly. And I've been there for 3 weeks now. It feels like 6 months. It's great. I'm loving it. And I'm gonna just like stop now.
No, it's great. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah.
love it because I was thinking like someone who's beginning their journey or even sort of in the middle of their journey and they're like, I can't just change things. I was like, of course you can. I'm the same way. Like I have a really strong tendency to like chase what I'm interested in. Right. So I'm curious about that. Like what gives you the courage to just say, this doesn't fit me anymore and I'm going to do something else? Where did you get that?
Oh my God, where did I get that? I think one of my kind of personality traits is I don't really do what if, as in regretting things. What if I done things differently? What if I said something else? What if that story actually went in a different way? And I believe that it's better to do something and regret doing that possibly rather than regret not doing. And for me, every time I was deciding to change something, I was feeling stuck and I knew that I wasn't learning anymore.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when I left school, I was like, I don't want to study anymore. I don't want any more exams. This is
I want to
horrible.
learn. I don't want to study, right?
And then you're like, naturally, but I'm like, I'm doing the same thing every day. It's boring. Like, give me something interesting to do. So I don't know. I think I'm just curious. And I know that even if I change things, I can always go back. Like, come on.
Yeah,
It's no
totally.
problem in that.
Totally. And I think curiosity is it's one of my values, right? And I really think like there's always something to be interested in, right? There's always something. Like go learn something, right? My best friend and I have a standing joke that I'll say like I'm interested in this, and she's like, "Do you want to go to school to learn that?" I'm like, "Talk me out of it before I get another degree." Like I don't need another degree just because I love to go to school, right? There are other ways to learn. So
Yeah.
I love to have that you chase what's interesting, and also there's not this, oh, what if I make a mistake? Well, yeah, okay, then you'll fix it. You'll move in a different direction. So,
Yeah.
well,
And like also just to say, like these are it sounds like it's super easy, to like switch and change this, it should change your mind. It is not easy. It's a difficult process. And you're there like, oh, should I tell them? Like, when should I go? Like, is that the right direction that I'm taking? Because you don't know until you try. So I don't want to make it look like, it's like so easy. But
yeah,
I think it's it's worth it. It's worth to take the risk and to make the effort and take a couple of step backs because in my case, I was always taking step backs and I was again like, I don't know what I'm doing. What's going on? But that's what's fun about that, You feel like you're always getting younger and younger instead of growing older.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things, and I thought we've talked about this, one of the things that a lot of people in general, but women in particular, really struggle with is imposter syndrome. And it can hold you back from doing exactly what you just described. Talk to me a little bit about your view on imposter syndrome and how you see it show up.
I think that I could list that as one of the skills on my CV. I've always had imposter syndrome. And this is also related to the fact that I always looked younger that I actually look. So imagine me like 10 years ago being 22 and being manager and talking to 40, 50-year-old people who are like, who is this kid? So like I had to step up and I had to be like prove that, I'm worthy.
Yeah.
Um, but truth is like it's like we're too obsessed about like how other people perceive us, how we look, what we say, how we dress, what we eat. And like everyone is doing the same thing. Like they're all stressed about how everyone else perceives us. And imposter syndrome, I think, is mainly related about like what other people will think because like it's the belief of what, like I don't think I belong. I don't think I know enough, but also like other people think the same thing. And it's scary. And I think we have to realize that it's part of the learning process. Like to learn something, you start from zero, you start from scratch. And you just have to expose yourself to the things that are, complex, that are bigger than you, to people that are much more experienced than you. And I don't know, just embrace it. Again, easier said than
Sure,
done.
totally, totally.
But like,
I agree. Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure you had that as well multiple times.
sure. I
And
mean, it's like you
if
start
someone is feeling the imposter syndrome, it's like, yeah, that person sitting next to you is feeling the exact same thing.
totally. And it's super funny that you said that. Like on one hand, I'm sort of a like person who says, people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are, right? Because they're thinking about themselves. Like that's one part of this. And then the other part of it is like you didn't know what you know right now before. you learned it. And so if you have a framework in your brain and in your mind for learning things, like I'll read, I'll talk to people, I'll, you get some skills for just learning, then imposter syndrome sort of it gets a little less ferocious, right? It's not quite as scary because you go, well, I mean, I'll just ask some questions and I'll see if someone will help me. And if I don't ever figure it out, then maybe it won't be the job for me, or maybe it won't be the role for me, or whatever. And like you said, it's much easier. It sounds a lot easier when we say it, but there is something to just pushing into it and saying, let's just give it a try. Right. It like reminds me of I don't have the exact numbers, but it reminds me of the percentages they say, like men will apply for jobs when they're 70% qualified and women will apply for a job when they're 125% qualified. Right.
Mm.
And I'm like, come on, and I think it's often imposter syndrome that holds us. So like, well, I can't prove that I can do that. No one's asking you to, right? Just get in there and learn and give it a shot, right?
Yep.
But I think it comes up in so many different ways when we're trying to be courageous. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So this is our last question. If you were going to share something that you see as exciting and hopeful in the world of women and girls, what comes up in your mind and what do you think about?
Oh, I think it's the movement of women and men as well, trying to give more confidence to women. Maybe not give more confidence, it's like awaken the confidence within them, and to show that, yeah, you can apply for that job. Like, yeah, you can show that you don't know things.
Right.
That was my problem. I always struggled to be like, I don't know.
Right.
And I would to do my own work in the background to show up and being like, okay, I'm ready
Okay.
now.
Right.
And it's like it's it goes deeper than just career and just like inclusion in terms of workplaces. It's more than emotional everyday level to be able to be both vulnerable and allow yourself to make mistakes, but at the same time just sorry,
Okay.
just freaking go for it.
Yeah, no, totally. You can say
Just go for it and just risk it and
yeah.
put yourself out there, because honestly, you don't have that much to lose if you just try this.
Right.
And our fears are so much bigger in our heads.
Right.
And if you have this community and you have people getting together and you have people sharing stories and like having you there and like waiting to catch you if you fall, this is the most beautiful thing. And I've been always a people person, and I love seeing, for example, my students as well, like growing and supporting each other and them becoming teachers and like then being there for those students again, men, women, non-binary, whoever that is. It's the most beautiful thing I think I've seen in my life.
Yeah,
So yeah, the community coming together, the mutual supports, and allowing ourselves to just be human.
I love it. I agree 100%. I think there's such a great sense of movement towards like, hey, trust your instincts, be bold even if you're afraid, right? It's the say what you need to say even if your voice shakes kind of feeling, right? Like go ahead, move forward. And 100%, I'm glad you called it out. There are so many men who are like, hey, we're with you. What do you need? How can we help? What do you need from us? And
Yeah.
non-binary folks and everyone. Like there's an opening of space to say, hey, how can I partner? And I mean, I intend, so I'm going to say this very openly. I intend to do this exact same 31 days for International Men's Day. So I'm going to interview 31 men as well. I intend to do the exact same thing because I I think there's a whole set of stories also not being heard on that side that are about sort of men and the movement and inclusion and all that space. So we're going to do that as well on when we get to International Men's Day. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, like be ready for that. A lot of stories are gonna come up. Like there's not enough space for them to speak up. So absolutely
Like,
looking forward
okay,
to it.
that's things to say. Yeah. So I'm super excited about that. I think it's gonna be fun. So two things. One is in the corner of this whole dialogue, there will be a little QR code for anyone who wants to donate to the Malala Fund, which is all about educating and protecting women and girls. She's an amazing person, but the organization itself does so much great work. both in, in countries where women and girls are often not educated, but also in places where women and girls want access to STEM education and other types of opportunities. So if you want to donate, there'll be an opportunity. So feel free to grab the QR code and give a little cash if you want to today. And finally, Zuza, thank you so much for coming and telling your story. I had so much fun chatting with you and letting you share your story with everyone who's watching.
Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, looking forward to seeing all the episodes you're recording because I'm sure there are gonna be some amazing people.
That'd be really fun.
And yeah, sending a lot of love to everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.